Eventually, and only after doing everything that we've covered in all of the other sections, we begin to think about scheduling our work. Once again, we can do this for an entire project at a fairly high level, but it's probably more useful and accurate for a smaller subsection or phase, maybe the next 3 months, for example. Our network diagrams have given us the order that the tasks could be done in and tell us a potential minimum duration of the project. But this sequence and these numbers only hold if 3 conditions are met. 1. Our plan is any good to begin with. But we've thought about stakeholders and scope and we've created a work breakdown structure to help with that. 2. Everything goes according to plan. But we've been considering risk in every session. The most important condition here is 3. We can only do this in the order and time we've calculated if we have sufficient resource. Our network diagram doesn't tell us this, and that's why we need the Gantt chart. Now, typically, we'd use some software like Microsoft Project or open source, so free software like Project Libre to create our Gantt. But you don't need to. You can do it on a piece of paper, on a whiteboard, in Excel, just as long as you do it in the way that I'm about to describe to you now. A Gantt chart is just a table. It has all of our tasks from a network diagram listed down the left-hand side, and along the top, for the first time, we begin to see a time axis. This can be in days, weeks, months, whatever your unit of time is. In this case, for simplicity, it's just the working days of the project. Now, I expect most of you have seen a Gantt chart before, but I'm going to show you how to create one properly. The biggest problem we have with Gantt charts is that this is where many people start planning a project. But the chart is only as good as the information you enter into it. As I've said before, if you enter rubbish, it will give you rubbish back out again. That's why we've spent all the other sessions getting good data to work with. Let's use the example we looked at in the activity sequencing session to show how we transpose our network diagram into our Gantt chart. First, we enter our start milestone, and then we go along the critical path. After the start, we can order concrete, which takes 10 days. Now we can pour concrete for 2 days. I can now start to see when I'm doing things, the days of the week, not just the order. Next, we have set concrete for 3 days, and then build the wall, which takes 6 days. I add the ending milestone at the end of my critical path. On the Gantt, this adds up to 21 days in total. So I know this is telling me the truth. If I'm using the Gantt chart as my primary device for communicating, for planning, for tracking, for reporting, for even forecasting on my project, I need to be able to trust it. In research, I would never use a number if I couldn't validate it. It's the same in project management. But now I can because I can cross-check it with my network diagram. Never use a number if you don't know where it's come from. Next, we put all of our other tasks in the order that they appeared in the network diagram. So I've added all of my tasks. All that's missing now is the slack or float. And if you remember, this is the permissible delay, my wriggle room. This is drawn as a line, showing how long a task could be delayed or could overrun. It basically acts a bit like a slider bar. This task could happen anywhere up or down this line and we'll be okay. And that's how you create a Gantt chart properly. Now, all of these things we've discussed in the various sessions take time, but I assure you that if you spend just a wee bit of time, and you can do everything we've looked at in these sessions in a morning for a fairly simple bit of work, then it will save you masses of time and stress further on down the line. In summary, the Gantt chart is nothing more than a glorified table. You enter the critical path first to verify your timeline, then you add your other tasks and the slack. However, we'll only know finally if we can complete this project once we add on resources. And we'll look at that in the session on resourcing. See you there.